everybody has played a part, and what's nice about it is that everybody who comes goes, why haven't I heard about Croatia before? Because it's really come onto the remote work scene so quickly because of all those factors I mentioned earlier, and people are coming. They're going, wow, this is amazing.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. So this is another episode in a special series that we look into the amazing brains behind Croatia's push towards a digital nomad destination. And continuing from our previous recording, today we actually have Paul Bradbury, the founder of Total Croatia News. I just finished a recording with him for our normal podcast series talking about travel. So for the viewers, I'll put like a link somewhere here probably, and for the listeners, it's probably the previous episode. So Paul, welcome to the show again. And I was saying that it will be very interesting to really have a behind-the-scenes look from your perspective on the role of media in Croatia or any country's push towards a digital nomad destination branding. So why don't you give again a brief introduction just in case people did not hear the previous episode, like of what you are doing?
Well, okay. Thanks for the opportunity. Your podcast is growing. It's becoming a cult hit around the world. So I really enjoy your style. It's an honor to be on your show. I mean, but perhaps I could tell you a bit about the digital nomad story in Croatia and how it started, and then there'll be a media aspect to that as well. Because to me, it's been a really, really incredible journey that's come together so quickly in a very bureaucratic country where they're quite resistant to change, and yet this has just sliced through everything. It's been amazing. So really, I mean, I've been writing about digital nomads opportunity in Croatia since about May 2019. I met Tanja Polgubic from Saltwater Nomads, who has been my partner in various projects we've done, and she, I think, is a very visionary lady. She's an Australian Croatian, very passionate about her homeland, but with a very clear view of how to develop this. And so she was running a co-working space in Split, and I was with my national media portal, and neither of us were making any money. And we both knew we had skills, and if we combined, maybe we could do something. So that was really my initial. And then the Andreas Gerdes, who's from the German guy in Malta, who's a very visionary guy, and he's a big name on the scene. He spent a lot of time in Zagreb, and there was a conference for the MBA Croatia about entrepreneurship 2.0, and he got up and he was saying we could transform this country in 6 months if we could bring, like this kind of remote work setup and everything else. And people thought it was nuts and so on, and that really cemented it for me. And then working with Tanja, I think things were going well. And so I went to see. Well, first of all, I went to the National Tourist Board, and I said we would like to do a branding of Trogir, which is a small town near Split, as the first digital nomad town. We've got a co-working space from the city, and can we kind of do this together? You're the National Tourist Board, and we have the brains and we have the media through TCN. And this was in March 2020. So this was before the visa was announced or anything, before Jan even heard of digital nomads. And the tourist board said it's a nice idea, but we can't support it because there's a taxation issue with digital nomads. So they said no support. Okay, so that was the end of that. And then at the beginning of May 2020, I got an email from a woman organizing a tourism conference saying, did I want to cover this tourism conference? And it's all the best speakers, all the best writers, and all the best people in the tourism industry in Croatia are going to be at this conference. And I read the email and I was like, are you asking me to speak at the conference? Because I'm not a tourism expert. I do know quite a bit about tourism, so I've been writing about it for 10 years. Or are you asking me just to write about it? And she said, I'm just asking you to write about it. So I felt a little bit insulted. That I didn't mind not being invited to speak. It's fine. I don't get invited to many things for some reason, but to be asked to report on the words of other people, like my words about their words. So I was a bit insulted, and then I was like, so I had a look and said, who are these experts? And then I laughed because I saw Jan de Jong. Now I've known Jan for years, and he is a phenomenal businessman. He's a great human. He's done what he's done for Croatia is incredible. He back then knew absolutely zero about tourism, and to have him as the expert, I just found that was brilliant. So I sent him a message and I said, I see you're now a tourism expert. He says, Paul, could you please help me? Because I said yes to this conference and it's about tourism, and I don't know anything, and you know everything. Could you help me? And I was like, no. And I said, so I sent him. I said, I'm going to send you 6 articles. If you read these articles, you will be the smartest man in the room. But my only condition is that you mention my name often. because it will really annoy them. Yeah. And so he called me the next day and he said, man, this stuff's amazing. This 3 words jumped off the page: Digital Nomad Tourism. I'd never heard of Digital Nomad Tourism before in my life. Okay. And true to his word, he sent me a WhatsApp video, which is it's on TCN, you can find it, where he actually spoke about digital nomads for the first time at this conference. And he said, "Oh, there's this really smart English guy who I read lots of his stuff, and he's got all these great ideas." And they're like, "Who is it? Who is it?" Like, name's Paul Bradbury. And that's how it started. And then Jan, took the thing, and he just went straight through, and he said we should have a visa. So he wrote the open letter to. On LinkedIn, he just wrote an open letter to the Prime Minister saying, "Dear Prime Minister, this is an opportunity. It's a win-win for everybody." And the response was amazing. Within I think a week, he had a meeting with the Minister of Interior, and within I think 8 weeks or something, he was tweeting. The Prime Minister tweeted a photograph of him and Jan sitting in his office, announcing that they would do a nomad visa, and they were starting on it, working on it the next day in Parliament. And literally from me telling him about digital nomads in May 2020, the visa, or the permit as it's called now, actually came into effect on January the 1st, 2021, so that's like an 8 period. And trust me, in Croatia, it's unheard of. They managed to get the Aliens Act changed to regulate digital nomads. They managed to get the taxation thing changed. They managed to get 5 ministries together, again, which is pretty unheard of. And it was Jan pushing with the team behind Jan. It wasn't just him. And we were reporting on everything every step of the way. And Total Croatia News is a Google News partner. And so what I found was that this got a lot of attention, and Jan was in the media a lot. I think CNN, The Economist, lots of everybody covered this story. And it was at just the time during the pandemic that Croatia was also the only EU country that was accepting non-EU citizens. And so for Americans, it was, wow, this is a beautiful country that accept Americans, and they're going to have a digital nomad visa, and we're going into this remote work revolution. This place is incredible. And then ABC News contacted me through my Viber community and said, we want to do a story on Croatia during the pandemic. And I said, okay, we can arrange a trip. So they went to Dubrovnik. My partner, Christian Matsan, showed them around, opened every single door that was possible, and created a few new ones. We had 6 reports on ABC News, including Good Morning America, 12.5 million people watching, about this amazing country, Croatia, during the pandemic. So these messages of it's American friendly, it's beautiful, it's forward thinking. This really came into one synergy. And so, and the other big thing that was I think is that we're not in the Schengen zone yet. We're going in quite soon. And so for the people that had to get out of the Schengen zone, where to next? Croatia there is beautiful, and it's open for foreigners. So all those things came together. And so then, then the visa came in, and so I'm with Tanya going, okay, now what are we going to do? And in order to pull off projects here, it's the best thing is if you can get a public-private partnership. So if you can get a progressive tourist board in a destination to work with you and to co-fund it and so on. And the Croatian National Tourist Board is a total joke. I mean, they're suing me for 100,000 kuna, so that's my opinion. So full disclosure, they haven't got a clue about what's going on. But I went to see the Zagreb Tourist Board director. And she said, Paul, we need some new ideas. We've had an earthquake, it was a huge earthquake in Zagreb in 2020 in March. And I said, digital nomads. And she's like, okay, and so I said, I'm going to introduce you to Tanya, and we'll give all the media support, because, nobody has written more about Croatia and digital nomads than TCN has, because we've covered every single step of the way and stuff. And when we survey all these nomads, how did you first hear about Croatia as a digital nomad destination? The general answers are Total Croatia News, Jan de Jong's LinkedIn profile, Saltwater Nomads, which is Tanya, Google Alerts, because a lot of people set up alerts for Croatia Digital Nomad Visa, yeah, and right. And Google Alerts, that was just TCN, because we're a Google News partner, yeah, and so we were getting. If you ask most nomads, that they'll probably have some combination of one of those is how they actually first came. So really, it was lots of people doing things, but it was Jan doing his thing, Tanya doing my thing, her thing, and me doing my thing, and that really sort of spread the net really wide. When the first visa holder, Melissa Paul up in Istria, she got the first visa, I was the first interviewer. I published the article, and then then it went around, and it was on CNN and Euro News and all that and stuff. And so this whole thing went out, and here's a physical thing. And the big thing I think that really helped Croatia in this stuff is that we were the only country really doing anything during the pandemic to try and attract nomads, or to try and keep a story going. Everybody else was just waiting and stay home, stay safe, all this stuff. And So I then said to Martina, who's the Zagreb Tourist Board director, meet Tanya. And she's the brains. I'm the guy that writes the words, and I can do the promotion, but she's the one that will come to the concert. And she came up with this amazing Zagreb Digital Nomad Week concept of 7 different themes in 7 different locations and 7 different days. So one was cybersecurity, was in a hotel. One was wellness and something else. One was about remote work, finding remote work. And so every single day had a different theme. And she did that. And then the Zagreb Ambassador Program, which is you were part of, where we got for the last 6 months, from July till December 31st, we got one ambassador from somewhere to come and be our guest in Zagreb for a month, and then they would help with their contribution of what they saw. They also organize events, and they would help to build the community. And that was so successful because we had really 6 amazing ambassadors, including your good self, sir. I'm very, very grateful for your contribution. Dean Kuchel from Israel, he just said, I'm here to build community. And he worked his ass off for a month. And he saw more of Zagreb in 1 month than I've seen in 18 years. He's everywhere. And then Anna Maria Kochanska, she came in December. And she was very, very active. But at the end of it, she went to speak to Johannes from Nomad Base, Nomad Cruise, and said, have you considered Croatia? And she then introduced Johannes to Tanya, Michael Freer from DNA Croatia, Digital Nomad Association Croatia, and Jan and myself. And we've basically he's now announced that he's bringing his Nomad Base to do a 7-day conference in Croatia in May. And now we're going to work quite hard to try and keep those people there for 2 or 3 months, because we've got a lot going on. So, and then Zagreb Digital Nomad Week was in June, and it was just as some people were going to their first in-house live events after all this lockdown. And Mandy France, she flew in from Amsterdam, and Tanya got Dean to come in from wherever he was. Where is Dean? And they were in, and they were just loving the energy of Zagreb. That the place is open, people are friendly. There's actually in-house. There's an actual gathering happening. There's a community, and we're all blown away by how incredible Zagreb was as a city, how great the Wi-Fi was, how good the English was, how safe it was. Amazing. Dean said the value to money, price versus value to money ratio in Croatia. Other places are cheaper, but he said the value for money you get in Zagreb is outstanding.
Right.
So that was that was kind of how Zagreb, and then in Dubrovnik it was even better, because in July.
Okay, hold on. Let me summarize this a bit, because I think this is a very good follow-up introduction to the previous episode for the viewers, which we have with Michael and Tanya. We spoke a bit about Croatia's progress into building a community, and I think what we have seen here is really, as you mentioned, a propagation of events that started basically off, in my opinion, the media coverage of things. So you're speaking from your perspective as someone that is on the ground, right? And what I have seen myself as I've always said, Croatia was never like a very well-known digital nomad hub. It was never in the first batch of nomad hubs like Bali, Chiang Mai, and Medellin, all those places, right? And Croatia really came onto the map based on your timeline as well during the pandemic at 2020, and there were a few reasons to that, of which I would like to touch on as well later with you. But from my perspective as someone who was overseas at that time, media coverage was the main reason why I've heard about Croatia and why it spread, right? Yeah. And I think there is so we both know Steve Sanchensky. Steve is a good friend of
unfortunately, yeah. I'm actually taking him to Slavonia tomorrow for 2 days. Yeah, so really missing out.
He's like great, right? And so for the listeners, Steve is an American who actually moved to Croatia during the pandemic, and then actually acquired the digital nomad visa, and now it's like a total Croatia fanboy kind of dude who is staying in Zagreb. So I've spoken to Steve before, and this was before he met you, before he even ended up in Croatia. He told me that Total Croatia News was the news portal that actually he referred to the most to get English-based news based off the whole digital nomad scene, where he was trying to plan his research on should I actually move to Croatia, right? And so, of course, we all knew he did after that. And most people that know Steve, if you are listening, you probably know him from the CNBC coverage, which featured basically his story of moving to Croatia and staying in Split, in Zagreb, and stuff like that. And when I was hanging out with him, I saw firsthand how some people actually, through that article as well, reached out to Steve, and then ended up in Croatia to meet him and discuss about moving to Croatia or staying there for a longer period. So I realized that it's not just a single coverage thing, but it's a propagation of effects.
It absolutely is, and everybody has played a part. And what's nice about it is that everybody who comes goes, why haven't I heard about Croatia before? Because it's really come onto the remote work scene so quickly, because of all those factors I mentioned earlier. And people are coming. They're going, wow, this is amazing. And when Dean came, I did an interview with him, and he said the only thing, because for me, he was the first proper digital nomad I'd hung out with and like sort of got to know. And I was like, can I do an interview with you about what you think of Zagreb? And I was really curious to see what he was going to say. And he said, Zagreb ticks all the boxes. The only thing Zagreb is missing is more digital nomads. It's got everything else. It's got the safety, the lifestyle. It's got the food, the wine, the nature. You know, there's 25 co-working spaces in Zagreb now, or probably more. So, and it's got people that are tuned into it. The tourist board locally, the Zagreb tourist board, is very, very, very into it. You know, and then so then he goes and he talks to people. You know, Anna Maria left in January, and then she went off to Cape Verde, and now we've got Nomad Base coming in May, hopefully. Or they don't know it yet, hopefully for a couple of months, because I'll tell you about what we've got planned for this period. And then those people will come, and they're going to tell people. And the thing is that, you know, some tourist destinations, they try and just say, we are, you know, this, and you come and you're disappointed. You know, Croatia, away from the beach and away from all the stuff, like authentic Croatia, the food, the wine, the people, the traditions, the lifestyle, the nature, the affordability, that it's all there. And when people come, they go, wow, this is pretty amazing. I never knew about this. So now with Nomad Base, we have if we can get 500 of them coming to their conference, and we can give them enough quality content and interest, why wouldn't they stay for 2 months? Why wouldn't they remote work in Croatia and discover, you know, Zagreb and then Split and Slavonia, of course, and you know, and then if we can start getting communities to come, then they tell their communities and stuff like that, and then we can really start to attract some serious numbers and some serious mindset. That's the big thing I want to do. Is I want to get people like you to come in. I mean, you've been really inspiring my daughter. You're doing some stuff together. She's learned so much from you and the other nomads she's met, and she's now having a mindset change of herself. And so this will help Croatia to grow, and to stop this brain drain and everybody emigrating. And people are seeing that you're coming to Croatia to work, and there is opportunity. And so this is, to me, it's the biggest battle Croatia faces today is mindset.
So I'm very interested in this portion, because and I've heard this from Tanya and Michael before when we did our chat, but this brain drain issue has just never been something that I've considered, and I don't think it has been something that any digital nomad really thinks about in the first place, right? No. But I realized that in Croatia, it is actually a big issue, hearing that all of you are mentioning it, right? So you have heard, like, you have only heard about digital nomads like a few years back, right? It was not like a very familiar concept, like right at the start. So what do you think, for you, what was the factor that you believe that this would actually be a future or be a trend that will carry on, that is worth pursuing?
Well, okay. So when I met Tanya, it was probably about 3-4 years ago, maybe. She had a co-working space, and I had no idea what a co-working space was. I thought it was like an internet cafe with coffee, basically. That's, you know, I didn't really understand what the whole, but you know.
I know.
And in May 2019, you know, I met Andreas and Tanya, and they were talking about different concepts, and it was all a bit alien to me. But in May 2019, I got an email request from a Russian and Ukrainian couple living in Munich, and they were in Yeltsa, the town on Foire where we have our house, and they said that they would be very interested to rent our apartment for 3 months next year, from April the 1st to June 30. And they explained that they were here at the moment, April 1st to June 30, and they would loved it, but they wanted an apartment with a better view, and they heard the apartment was great and so on. And what would be the price of that? So we met them for a coffee, and they explained that they worked in Munich, but the boss had said to them, I need you only in the office for 2 months a year, and for 10 months of the year you can work from home. So they decided as a couple, we will go to 3 months in Montfort, and then we'll go to somewhere in Sicily, and then we'll go to Portugal, and we'll do that, and then we'll go back to Munich, and then, okay. So they came, and April the 1st, Yeltsa is dead. There's nothing really happens until middle of June. It should be alive, it's not. And you know, they told us about their life. They said, we get up in the morning, we go for a swim because it's the Adriatic's there. Then we have a coffee on the main square, and it's just what a great way to start the day. And then we do our work from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and then we'll go out and have a pizza for lunch, a local thing, and then we'll work till 5, and then we'll go for a swim in the evening, and then we'll go and have a drink here, and then we'll have dinner here, and we're taking Croatian lessons. So, and I got this concept that here was a new breed of person that was working in Munich, but living in Croatia, earning in Munich, but spending in Croatia. And I just thought, this is just phenomenal. You know, this could be a really, really, really big thing. And if we could develop this, because like I said before, Croatia, away from the beach and all the stuff, away from the high season, it's a phenomenal place to come, right? So that's what really got my thinking this could be a huge thing for Croatia if we can market it properly. And that's always the problem, is how do we market things properly? And then I got an email in beginning of November of 2020 from an American girl called Jess, and she and her French-American boyfriend were in Yelsa. They were both digital nomads, she said, and they were in this apartment, not that great, and they wanted to know could they rent ours because they thought it was really amazing. So I said, yeah, well, we don't normally rent it in the winter. We're living in Zagreb, but we said, okay. So we opened it up for them. We gave them a really good price for 2 months. And then we got talking. And then she's like, I really love this country. I really love this town. I really want to stay, but I'm an American. 3 months is the thing, is the limit. So, and then I have to leave. When's this visa coming? When's this visa coming? Because TCM was writing about it. So any update, Jan would update me. So I would be the first person with the news. So any updates. So even before the Croatian media or anybody else, it was on TCM first because of that relationship I had with Jan and other people. And so then, so I started to try and help her. And long story short, she was the 7th person to get the Nomad permit. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so they stayed for a year. And then I said, listen, you are a good-looking Californian couple. You're loving it here. You're here in January. Everybody else thinks the islands are dead in January, and yet you're coming from Silicon Valley to be here. This is a really great story. And you're working, helping the dog shelter, and you're playing a local football team, and you're really engaging in the community and this. And I could see that if this island had 60 couples like you, it would be a different. The mindset would be everything would change. Yeah, people would see that that they would see things that you see, they would start to see. So I said, can we do some media stuff on you? So she said, oh, fine. So I called a friend of mine who works for national television, and I said, I've got this couple, very photogenic, great story. Island, and she said, I love it. So long story short, we did a 10-minute video report on primetime TV, national television, at 9 o'clock in the evening about the Californians enjoying the Dalmatian lifestyle in winter. And it's probably the best advert I've seen for Croatia as a nomad destination. I'll send you, you should watch it because it's better. And it's got subtitles and everything, so it's all, and it's brilliant. And then people started to think, hang on a minute, we've got foreigners coming here, maybe kind of something could be happening with this digital nomad thing. Because what you need to understand as well, looking back now, everything's talking about digital nomads. We were talking about it, and everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" You're just like, blah, blah, blah. How many nomads are here? Like 6. What are you talking about? And I'm like, it's coming. And there was a lot of resistance.
That's actually the thing, right? And now that you mention it, I realized that just now when I say my knowledge of Croatia's rise as a digital nomad destination is based off the media. But what I just realized, and I've seen it myself, and to the listeners out there, is that it's not just for digital nomads coming in, but also that for the locals to start thinking about this group as a potential customer base or potential solution to solve like off-season, slow season profits and revenue.
So let me tell you about
the media.
Yeah, and one of the big successes we've had, and one of our nomads in Dubrovnik, I'll come to that in a minute, said to Caroline, she said, one of the successes of the digital nomads promotion at the moment is that now every single grandmother knows the term Digital Nomad. So it's entered into the Croatian lexicon, but it's also, everybody now knows and they're talking about it, and it's becoming, is this a thing, is this a thing? But then let me tell you about, because this is really an amazing project that Tanya put together. So I've told you about Zagreb, and then in July 2020, so the visa Jan's done his LinkedIn letter, but the Prime Minister has not yet said the visa's coming. So we're in that sort of talk. And every meeting Jan had, I was writing about it because I wanted to keep the pressure up and stuff like that. Yeah. So I got a meeting with the mayor of Dubrovnik, Mato Frankovic, and he gave me half an hour. And I went to see him and I said, you have an incredible destination. You have a terrible tourism policy. And now we're in the pandemic, we have no tourists, and you're looking for, this is an opportunity, and you're looking for new ideas and stuff. Digital nomads, okay? And we had a conversation for about half an hour, and that was it. And he said, and what do you suggest? And I said, I suggest this program which Tanya will put together. It's going to cost this much. And he said, we will start work on it tomorrow. It was literally, I've never ever been to a meeting like that. I mean, the public-private partnership between Dubrovnik and Zagreb is outstanding. Outstanding. Other destinations, which I won't mention, or national organizations I won't mention, not so good. And then we were going to have this project in October 2020, but then the pandemic came back, and so the budgets were done. But Tanya said, in October 2020 is European Freelancer Week. Can we just do something, like a tiny budget, just something? And she pulled in every single favor she's ever had from anybody. Like the AV guy brought his own equipment down, drove down from Zadar for free. Nick did the whole filming for free. This person did this for free, and we had a tiny budget. I mean, it was embarrassingly small. But we put on the first ever Digital Nomad conference in Croatia. And this is during the time of the pandemic when nothing's happening around the world. And yet here's Croatia doing a Digital Nomad conference. How far out was that? It got mentioned in the Washington Post. That's the kind of reach it. And now you've got all these different people who have got like Google Alerts for Digital Nomad Croatia, or Digital Nomad Visa in general, or Digital Nomads, And because I'm writing about it at Google News, it's getting picked up a lot on Google Alerts. And so, I won't say the readership was huge, but it was very targeted because it was these people were looking for information. A bit like Steve was looking for information, so he came to TCN.
Actually, what you were saying until this point is something that I definitely, and I think you probably know my stand on this, and the listeners will probably keep hearing me repeat about this, is that I believe the whole reason why Croatia managed to do so-called significantly well in the last 2 years in this push is that thought that just do it without having the full plan about it. And if anyone listened to our interview in the first episode about travel, you obviously are not a very meticulous person. You are definitely the run and gun type, whereby if you see an idea and in the macro picture it makes sense, you're just going to go for it without thinking too much about the details, but believe that you will be able to figure it out as it comes, right? And I think from the execution that you're talking about, that is another example of why Croatia and all the people behind this whole push have managed to actually create a significant level of impact. Is just doing something or whatever to get the ball rolling. And when it starts rolling, we see the propagation of it, that it gets bigger.
Yeah, that's very true. But it's important to note that really, the reason there wasn't a strategy was because it was one person doing something here, and then we were doing something here, and then there's no something like the National Tourist Board you might expect would take a lead on something like that. But they had zero interest at all in Zagreb Digital Nomad Week. They didn't even do a press release about it, even though it won 2 international awards. The Dubrovnik project actually about won 2 international awards. But so it was all done like this. But then this is the magic. Jan, Tanya, and another lady, Carmela, decided to form the world's first digital nomad association as an umbrella to coordinate, to facilitate, to lobby, because Jan obviously got very good connections now with the government because of the whole permit, and to really try and put all the energy into one place. Okay. And then they brought on this Michael Freer to be the director for the first 6 months. And Michael is he's a great, even though he's a southerner, he's a great guy. But he's been doing social entrepreneurship in Croatia for about 6 years, I think. And so he's really connected into the grassroots of everything that's going on in Croatia, and probably has a better. I don't think any foreigner has a better understanding of what's going on in Croatia on the ground than Michael does. And so he came to be the director. And in the last 3 months, what he's achieved has been phenomenal. He's managed to. He knows where all the bodies are, and he's putting it all together. He's connecting. And so we had this Digital Nomad Reflection Day last week online. It was a 4-hour Zoom where we all introduced ourselves. There were 20 people from the city, from the tourist boards, from NGOs, from digital nomads themselves, from ambassadors like yourself, from media like me. And we all sort of came together and we saw what the big picture was and what's actually going on, and then connections and synergies were made there. And then we realized that actually we've got a really, really lot of stuff going on here, and if we can actually sing from the same hymn sheet, we can make really rapid progress. And Michael and Tanya's got the vision for that, and Jan's got the vision for that, and so to me it was one of the most extraordinary meetings I've ever been to, because it was like, let's look at what's happening, and we're all, there's a lot of ego in different places, but it's all being ironed out, and everybody's like, okay, let's get the mission. Okay, so when Nomad Base said they were coming, I said to the meeting, look, Nomad Base is coming. We have an opportunity to showcase Croatia, and we've got Zagreb Digital Nomad Week is going to be happening in June. We've got another conference on the 5th of May to the 7th in Dubrovnik, which is about to be announced. They're going to come on the 9th to the 15th for their conference in Croatia. And then we've got this amazing drone festival up in Osijek that's going to be happening at the same time in late May. And we've got this and this and this. Why don't we? And then we've got in Music Festival, where the Killers are playing as one of the headline bands, and that's in June. And then at the end of June, currently it's €35 to fly Ryanair from Zagreb to Sofia for the Bansko Nomad Festival. Right. So you come to this region for 2 months and have these incredible experiences, and we'll help you, and we've got all these different things we can help you with. And then network, go to 3 amazing conferences just for nomads in Croatia over a 2-month period, and have all this other stuff as well. We've got a guy who he does sailing. He's got a special digital nomad sailing package for 7 days where people are working on it, and it's great. So that's where the synergy is now. And I'm probably not the best person to lead that because I have some issues with certain people. But Jan and Michael and Tanya, I mean, what they're doing is phenomenal, and I really hope that Croatia recognizes what they're doing, because it really is incredible. But I just want to come back to this amazing program in April 2021. Which Tanya came up with her team at Saltwater Nomads. and it was called the Digital Nomad in Residence program. Okay, and so Dubrovnik has a really bad image of being expensive, over tourism, a 2-day destination, and that's it. Okay, and so what we did was we had a global competition to invite nomads to do a 1-minute pitch to get 10 nomads from different backgrounds, different countries, different experiences to come to Dubrovnik as guests, get free accommodation for a month, and have a program. So Monday to Thursday they would do their normal jobs. Friday, and the weekend they would do excursion. You go to Corchula, go to Millet, Conavle, things like that. And then the Friday, four Fridays, we had a design thinking workshop where the aim was to co-create a strategy for Dubrovnik to attract more digital nomads, but also a 10-year roadmap of how to progress it. Okay, and we had real experts that were in on this program to facilitate stuff like that. And I wasn't very involved in that bit, so Tanya, she did an amazing job there. And so we got members from the community, the city, the tourist board, the nomads themselves, and the project partners. And every Friday we had a really intense workshop where we co-created this strategy. So we would have, for example, at the beginning, there's different processes of the visit. You've got the arrival process, the accommodation process, trying to find something to work, social life, things like that. And at the beginning of it, we said, okay, let's take the arrivals process. Everybody, community, city, tourist board, nomad, project partners, on a post-it note, what are the 3 best things about the arrival process in Dubrovnik? What are the 3 worst things? From the perspective of a local, from the city, from the tourist board, and we put all these post-it notes on these big walls, and all those different parts of the process. And over the course of 4 weeks, we hammered it down into these are the issues and these are the solutions, and this is what nomads need and everything else. And it was honestly, it was a privilege just to be a fly on the wall. I mean, I contributed a bit, but I don't really understand this stuff. And at the end of it, I'll never forget this. Rob, who was this really crazy Dutch guy, who was one of the 10 nomads, and he gave an initial presentation to the mayor and to the media and to everybody there. And he said, my first slide is what happens when I put the word Dubrovnik into Google Images. These are the results, 30 images, right? And they're all the same thing, this beautiful, stunning old town. Yeah. And he said, I didn't even know if there was anything outside of the old town. Yeah, I just thought that was it. I've never seen anything about Dubrovnik that was not the old town. And the other thing I had was, in my perception, was that Dubrovnik was a 2-day destination, and it was expensive. Okay. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, after being here for 4 weeks, not 2 days, I'm not ready to go home because I still haven't seen the things I want to see. And I've not been to Mostar, I've not been to Montenegro, and there's a bunch of other stuff. So and for me, the old town is beautiful, but that is not Dubrovnik for me. Dubrovnik for me is the area of Lapad where I'm staying, like the beach and the park and the local cafe and the bakery and the woman I see on the stairs every day. And it's about that little. It's about, because I'm not staying in Dubrovnik as a tourist. I'm living in Dubrovnik, and so there's the sort of difference. And he said we basically decided that the big thing for Dubrovnik is 3 words: beyond the walls. Dubrovnik is not the old city. It's what's, and if we can build and explain, you can go, there's islands half an hour by ferry away, you can go and remote work there for a week and then come into the city when you want to, or there's all this hiking to do and there's wine stuff. And if you can actually start to develop that, then this could be an amazing destination, and you will change the perception of expensive 2-day thing because you'll do all this. And the tourist board have been amazing. The Dubrovnik tourist board, Anna Hrnic and the deputy mayor Jelka Tepsic are phenomenal humans in terms of public-private participation. Never seen anything like this in the world ever. Not only do they agree and to be led and to be guided with questions, obviously, but they implement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one thing we said was from this findings was, you really need to have a website called longstaydubrovnik.com, something like that. So there's all the tools for people that want to come. You can see it's not just that, but this is where you can get your haircut, and this is where you can get your, your internet card and stuff like that. And next month they'll be launching longstaydubrovnik.com. They've gone through and they've done it. So, and then the other thing that was really interesting from these nomads, because apparently this was the world's first ever in residence program getting nomads to come in to advise a destination. It's not been done before, apparently. And Tanya really got an amazing crew of talent to actually brainstorm this and facilitate it. And the other thing that was really interesting to me was they said, our research has shown us that the typical length of stay in Dubrovnik is about 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, maybe, but maybe a year. Somebody comes for a year, but never 30 days, never. Mm-hmm. Nobody, But if you look on the Digital Nomad Croatia Facebook groups, you have all these people saying, I'm thinking of coming for a month to Croatia. I'm thinking of coming to, for 30 days to Croatia. And so, Dubrovnik's missing that whole potential catchment because it's not perceived as a 30-day destination. It's perceived as a 2 or 3 or 7-day destination maximum. And this is what the market is looking for. And this is what Dubrovnik isn't offering. But we've just had it. Dubrovnik can offer 30 days because we've just done it and it's been amazing. Yeah, and we want to stay longer. So then they came up with this amazing project, concept called. This was April 2021. So there were not many tourists, and so these guys were in the local media, TCN. Obviously, we did an interview with every single one of them. So and again, that Google alerts, that kept the story going.
Yep.
And they all had their different perspectives, and then they became like little celebrities around town because there weren't that many foreigners. Oh, you're the digital nomads. Anyway, what is a digital nomad anyway? So they're having all these conversations. But then these restaurants are saying, "Hey, nomads, 30% discount in my restaurant if you come, 30% off here," because they want to get some business because there's nothing happening. And then they came up with this amazing idea, the workation 30 by 30. So if you come for 30 days to Dubrovnik, participating businesses then will give a 30% discount on their services for those nomads. Yeah, and so this is now this is a concept that's being developed. And will be launched quite soon. And we said to Dubrovnik, you need co-working spaces. If you don't have co-working spaces and if you can't build community, you may as well go home. Yeah.
Right.
And so you need to bring community builders to teach that. So they actually got Dean to come for a week in December, which is quite. And Dean was there, and you were there obviously in Christmas Eve and stuff. And this is the quietest time of the year. But and so then they announced. I was really proud of them. They announced 3 co-working spaces. They're about to open the first co-living space in the National Archives. And these co-working spaces are strategically placed around the city, so they cover each different area. And then they went beyond what we recommended almost. They actually put out a call to all tourism businesses who wants to participate in this digital nomad card. Yeah, and so and businesses have said yes, we will. And so they've actually got an offer now that's going to be coming, and it's all coming together. It's going to be launched quite soon, I think. And the other thing that they said is we need to. How many nomads are here? How do we get that information? Because when you come into a country, you don't say, what's your occupation, nomad? You're this. So it's very, very hard to actually quantify. And everybody's asking, what is the economic value of nomads? What do they bring? And nobody can really answer that because there's no data. So what they decided to do is they set up a digital nomad concierge point in the tourist board office, just by the main entrance to the old city. And they said, what they're going to say is, if you're a digital nomad, come and register and get your digital nomad pack. And this will be all the information, the discounts, and everything else. And that way they can actually start collecting the data, and then they can give a service to them. Dubrovnik is phenomenal at what they've done. And one of the things that Dean said when he says, I've never seen public-private partnership work in any country with nomads the way it's working in Croatia.
Yeah, this part is very interesting because I did speak to Tanya and Michael about this regarding not just about the partnership, but also how you were saying the ability for nomads to actually stretch into longer periods of stay and address some of the low season tourism stuff, actually discover local tourism that's apart from just what tourists come and see for 2 and 3 days, right? And when you start so-called living there for a longer period, you not only experience like more local stuff, but actually something that a lot of people might not actually know of or even get to see. And that's where I definitely want to talk about this, which is like your new initiative called Nomads that touches on this part of the experiences.
Yeah. Let's come to that in a second. I just want to mention one other destination that's doing amazing stuff that is not on the radar at all at the moment.
Right.
And my relationship with that destination really is about 3 months, and that's it. And it's the city of Osijek, which is a city east of Zagreb. It's halfway between Belgrade and Zagreb. It's halfway between Budapest and Sarajevo. So it's the closest place in Croatia to Budapest airport, not the big hub. And it's written off by most people in Croatia because it's east of Zagreb, and everyone has just forgotten the east of Zagreb. It's just like war. The Vukovar thing was there, everything. And I took Steve on this trip with his drone and stuff, and we had this amazing 6-day, really amazing 6-day program. We talk about undiscovered travel in 2022. That was undiscovered travel. I was seeing amazing stuff for the first time, and I've been here 18 years. And so I got really into the vibe in Osijek. You've been on the Dalmatian coast in winter. It's dead.
Yep.
It's embarrassingly dead. But this city was absolutely alive. It seemed like I could not believe it. And we met this English guy at breakfast in our hotel in November. And what the hell are you doing here? He said, I have a drone company. I live in Switzerland, and I use Osijek engineers for my stuff. They're the best in the world. And I have a business partner who runs a company called Orca, who does CGI goggles and that stuff that you probably wear and I don't. And I was like, really? And he said, yeah. And there's a great sushi bar just open, by the way. And should we go for dinner tonight? And Sojan, the CEO of this Orca, this world-renowned market leader, he'll come as well because he wants to meet you. Because I just messaged him. He said, wow, TCN, Paul, I really want to meet him. Yeah. So we went out for dinner, and so it was Tony and Sergio, the two drone guys, and then Steve with his drone, and they were droning on about drones, and I was just like, putting the beer down where it belongs. And I was like a bit bored actually, and I just said, guys, could we? Is there any way we could use drones to promote tourism? And they just looked at each other and locked. And within 2 beers, we got the concept of Danube Drone Days. Okay, and Tony is best friends with 7 of the world's best pilots because they use his equipment, and they're like family friends and everything, stuff almost. And Sergio's got all the contacts within the city. So the idea was we'd have some kind of cine fest, I think it's called. I don't really know these things. And so we'll get 7 of the world's best pilots, 7 amateurs with great potential. We'll get them into Osijek. We'll have screens around the city, but mostly it'll be online. And then they'll have different challenges, such as going through the fortress, down rivers, inside a cathedral. I don't know what it is. And then they'll create their own sort of things, and then we'll have an online sort of voting and blah, blah, blah. And however it works. I mean, you'll understand that shit better than me. I don't really understand it. And so we had all this. And then I said, okay, guys, can we do something? And Sergio says, I'll call the mayor tomorrow. We'll come up with the concept. Within 2 weeks, we had the concept. The whole thing has been approved with partly public money, partly private money. And the festival will take place on May the 23rd. So when you come and visit Rax, you can take part. That's on May the 23rd this year. But then I told the guys, so Osijek is the best tech scene in Croatia. They've got really, really good tech, but they don't really market it that well. And I'm talking to these people thinking, remote work, this is the best place in Croatia for food, wine, nature, affordability, access to Budapest, Zagreb, and it's got this amazing tech scene. And the city itself is stunning, and it's on the River Drava. What about if we could start telling the story of the tech scene? And I told them about the Digital Nomads and Residence program. There's a thing called Osijek Software City, where they have really good high quality stuff, and the business incubator there. And I said, we want it. We want nomads. How do we get nomads? And so I was like, well, here's a proposal. This is what and they said, yes, we're going to do this. Yeah. And so on yesterday at midday, I said, I'm going to be in Osijek on Monday, bit short notice. Is it possible to get a meeting with the deputy mayor, the regional tourism person, and from the city, from the region, and the regional tourist board director, and the Osijek tourist board director, and anybody else, right? And this is Croatia, where everything takes years. Midday yesterday, I made a request to the software city guys. 2 o'clock, I've got my appointment with the deputy mayor, with everybody asked for at 1 o'clock on Monday, and they're all ready to engage. And the other thing I did was I put on Facebook an event like. I've got this hashtag now, MOGA, make Osijek great again. Yeah, and I just said I'm going to be in this pub. Anybody who wants to come and talk tourism and everything else, I've got 45 people coming.
Oh, that's
and they're
nice.
all dressed. Yeah, I'll be bigger than Dean. I'm joking. but these are all people. These are all people, and from the public and the private sector, and they want to work and they want to work together. So there's amazing energy in the East, which we're just about. I'm about to release Steve's video today. But from the remote work tech kind of stuff, that's an amazing example of public-private partnership. So we have it in Zagreb. We have it in Dubrovnik, we have it in Osijek, and we're also talking to Montenegro about certain things, because I don't think digital nomadism should be country specific. It should be the stronger the region, the more people are going to come and do 3 months here and 3 months here, or a month and stuff like that. So, right. And then Digital Nomad Association with Michael, he's connecting all the glue, and it's super exciting to be in Croatia right now. I can't believe you're not here.
So something that's really interesting when I look at this from a different perspective, because when you tell the stories that you're talking about, you are really involved in some of the planning straight away, right? But I want to look at the media side of it. And I think when you flip the coin a bit and you look at it in a different perspective, how do you see using media? Firstly, how do you see using media to push all these underrated destinations and unknown stuff? And secondly, from the perspective of like, say, other regions that wants to do this and make the same push as Croatia, because obviously Croatia is now an example that the surrounding countries look to. Yeah. How can businesses attract media coverage and attention to collaborate as you have been doing with all the other businesses or organizations?
Well, I do a lot of stuff for free, because if I'm very into, I celebrate the little guy is one of my slogans. Give people what they want and celebrate the little guy. Those are the 2 maxims of TCN. If I see a story, then I'm happy to write about it. And so I did a whole series in 2019 when I was still finding my way about digital nomads, didn't really know. And I thought, I know what will resonate and what will get attention. And that is personal stories of digital nomads living it, breathing it right now in Croatia, because nobody believes this is actually a thing. So I did a series of really good interviews with probably about 15 digital nomads in all parts of Croatia. You know, within Tanya's network, she found those people. And people are really fascinated. Wow, here's somebody coming from the States and is here in Split for 6 months doing this. And, you know, really, really interesting. And then these people started to connect because everyone read the series and, oh, you know, and if you know, so this is how you connect with these different people. And then I found one woman, Julie, her name was, she was in her 50s, she was from Denver, and she was in Osijek, which is not on the radar at all at the moment. And it's famous here for mass emigration. This is the center of emigration. This is where the war really flattened, east really flattened, and there's been very little investment since it's all gone to the coast. And these were the best people in Croatia. And this is why Steve and I are going again without you, Rex. And so I did an interview with her, and she said Osijek for her was probably one of the best places she's ever lived, because it was, for a single woman, it was safe. Nature, food, wine, English, Wi-Fi, affordability, accessibility, blah, 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 right? I published this story and I knew what was going to happen next. It was all over the national media, because the fat blogger had found somebody that was going all the way from Denver, coming to Osijek when everybody else was leaving, and people going, hang on a minute, are we missing something here? You know, and she's bringing her mindset, and the more that comes in, the quicker things will change. And so personal stories like that always work, always work. And the second thing was, how do you get people to go? So I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say. Tanya might shoot me, but I'll take a chance.
I'm thinking you're throwing out a lot of info that might not be ready for release.
Well, okay, well, I'll do it. No. So we have a conference which has been approved, but we're just finalising details. In 5th of May to the 7th, where we're going to focus on the culture of work. So you know, Dubrovnik, this DNI, this Nomads Residence program, really got a lot of global interest around within the community. This is a very sort of forward-thinking kind of thing. And so Dubrovnik went from nowhere, a bit like Zagreb after our Digital Nomad Week. Nomad List had their major 2021 survey, and they said that the 5th most liked city in the world was Zagreb.
Like that was actually quite surprising, even because considering there are many cities in contention.
Croatia was number 2 country, and I was just like, whoa, you know, like 18 months ago, they didn't know what a digital nomad was, you know. So this is again proof that somebody's doing something right, yeah. And with Dubrovnik, it's really got this reputation now of being quite forward-thinking, and all the things now I'm saying about, you know, the co-living spaces and this card and all the findings of DNIR, and so this culture of work is the thing. And so we're going to invite all the countries that have got digital nomad visas to come to Dubrovnik to tell us about it, and all the countries thinking of doing digital nomad visas, why don't you come and learn about it all in one place, so that we can start maybe to build Dubrovnik as a policy center for remote work for the future.
I'm hearing a lot, like based off the examples you're talking about, it's really businesses or organizations taking a proactive step in approaching either events that are significant or approaching the media person, because apparently, like, I don't know if you see it because you are actually the person in the shoe, right? But what I'm saying is that the only reason a lot of these people actually will get any exposure from your platform is because they actually come to things that you are doing. Like if you organize like a drinks for whoever is interested, taking a proactive step to actually try and do this market might actually be beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, but also I'm kind of trying to, because the whole thing about this whole movement is about community, and community is a really new thing to me. I mean, we did a Viber community last year for coronavirus, and I learned so much. And so I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible with other people. So even if somebody doesn't contact me, but I see something, then I'm like, okay, well, that's something, let's write about it and everything else. And I was doing some content for DNA Association when they started, and so I was like writing about this and this and this. But then what was really interesting to me was about 6 months ago, I went into Google News and I put in the term Digitalni Nomadi. Okay, and I said stories from the last 7 days. Okay, so this is like in the local media. Now, when I say local media, I'm talking about Croatian, Serbian, Montenegrin, because it's all the same thing there. And there were 8 different stories about Digitalni Nomadi, about something that was happening in Zadar, something that was happening in Nikšić in Montenegro, something happening in Belgrade. A meeting has been signed in Mostar, and you can actually just see from that, just from those 8 stories, you can see that it's getting grassroots. Yeah, it's becoming established and more thing. And with Digital Nomad Association and their work, that's going to provide the umbrella through which, and now if they can work with the National Tourist Board and the ministry and all these different people effectively, and it'll be more effective with me not being involved, that's fine, I don't mind that, then we really have a chance to, and if they'll listen and take advice in the same way that Zagreb has done, in the same way that Dubrovnik has done, in the same way that Osijek is doing, then we can really become a global leader in this.
Right.
Because we have everything. And if the one thing Croatia is terrible at is cooperation and cohesion, but it's terrible. You know? And what I'm seeing for the first time ever in Croatia, I think, is a movement that is starting to gel, where everybody is leaving their ego behind and saying, we want to move this forward. And, you know, to me, when we had that Digital Nomad Reflection Day last week with the 4-hour thing, you know, we had the Deputy Mayor of Dubrovnik was there. We had the Tourist Board Director of Dubrovnik was there for the whole 4 hours, you know, the whole thing. We had people from NGOs were there. We had people starting things in Istria were there. There was a guy in Rijeka was there. And, you know, I'd never heard of him, but I can help him because I'm about to start doing some stuff with Rijeka. And I'm like, well, let's go together and I'll start pushing that. But I didn't know about you until Michael organize this thing, and now I have a bigger picture. And then Michael sent out this great update saying these are the minutes, this is what happened, and it's all public. We published on TCN, so now everybody else can see actually there is stuff happening, and then who to connect and who to talk to. So it's honestly, it's super exciting. I can't believe you're not here.
I'll be back. And so one of all the elements you talked about the media and stuff, right? Before we conclude, definitely. And I think this will be a good introduction before I talk about the incredible EVAs of Zagreb that's in the tourism space. Is this notion that we covered a bit about local experiences, and tourism is definitely one aspect I'm seeing you make the push towards digital nomadism. For you, there's definitely a connection between like experiences and tourism and using that to bring digital nomads to the country, right? So tell us a bit about Chromads, and I know it's launching soon, but give us a sneak peek of it and what is it?
It's launching soon. It's coming soon. So this is an idea that came very quickly. It's a very new idea, and in October there's a great event every year called the World Championship of Olive Picking. Okay, and this is on the island of Brač, which is near Split, and it's basically, I guess, a lazy Dalmatian guy who has a lot of olives, and he didn't want to pick them himself, so he came up with a world championship. And each team has 2 girls, 2 boys, and they have a 3 or 4 day festival, including one day when they have to pick as many olives as they can in a certain period of time, and then the one who picks the most is the winner. And they have teams from New Zealand, from Russia, from the United States, everything else. I mean, it's a great, authentic experience that you can't really get in many places. Okay, and it's a world championship. And so Tanya was sitting in Split, drinking in a bar for a change with 4 of the digital nomads in residence from Dubrovnik. Alyssa from Japan, Rob, the guy from Holland that I mentioned earlier, and Charlie from Wales, and Sam from England. And they were saying, that's pretty far out. Could we enter a digital nomad olive picking team? Wouldn't that be wild? So a phone call was made, and the answer was yes. So they had t-shirts made, the Extra Virgin Digital Nomad Olive Picking Team. Okay, they made a great video. They came 5th. They were on the national news. They were on news in, I think, Holland and in Norway as well. Okay, great story, right? And they
won it.
No, yeah. You need to follow TCN to get the real news, you know.
Okay.
And so I thought, amazing stuff. But I thought, if I had posted that opportunity on Expats and Split Facebook page or Digital Nomads and Split Facebook page, I would have had 40 or 50 people wanting to have that authentic experience. Yeah. So for next year, that's what will happen. And then the next week, I was at a press conference in Zagreb County Tourist Board, and they had a month of open cellars, like wine tasting in the wine regions around Zagreb, mixing it up with culture, cinema, art, music, that kind of stuff. And they had this one event. It was the new James Bond movie in a vineyard, sat on straw bales, covered in blankets, with roast chestnuts and young Portuguese nuts, like the local grape variety, yeah. And that was the experience. And I was like, how nuts is that, right? So I said to the tourist board director, shall I post this on the Digital Nomad Facebook page, which now has 8,600 members, so it's growing very quickly here. And she said, oh, well, maybe not because it's limited, but would they like to go truffle hunting, do you think? Because if they want to go truffle hunting, we can organise truffle hunting. We're going, by the way. Steve and I are going, but you're missing out again, Max. We're
I keep wanting to go.
I know. Well, you need to be in the country to take part in these things. You can't all do it remotely. This is about travel. From the other podcast, travel 20 years ago. It's like getting your hands dirty and actually doing it, not being good on Instagram. Right?
Yeah, I definitely got to arrange that.
And so she said, well, we can do truffle hunting, and then we do wine tasting, and then we have lunch with truffles. And I was like, and I thought, what am I doing? I've been in tourism for 10 years, and I've missed the biggest opportunity of all. Croatia is the European leader, in my opinion, of authentic experiences, 365 days of the year, all over the country. There is always something happening somewhere, and it's pretty wild. I mean, I lived on an island where they had a lavender festival every year. They had an edible dormouse festival, so they got these little dormice and they put them on the grill. I mean, it's not to everyone's taste, but these are pretty unique, authentic kind of stuff.
Right.
And then I thought, okay, I'm going to break it down into 5 different sections. Natural Croatia, so lavender festival, making silk in Konavle, just outside Dubrovnik. Then we have sport and adrenaline, so we have kayaking and we have sailing, but we also have indigenous sports like scrapping, which is like basically running on mountain rocks, like sharp ones, a bit nuts, but there's a thing called pizzigin in Split, which is a traditional gameplay by old guys. And then we have traditional Croatia, so we have these big religious festivals to celebrate patron saints days, and the Croatians are great at festivals, and every village has their own patron saint day when they all go nuts and they all dress up in the traditional stuff, and it's really, really amazing all over the country. And then we have gourmet, and the food and wine in Croatia, is pretty good, and it's very diverse, very regional. The wines are amazing. This is where Zinfandel comes from, all that stuff. And then the last one was innovation Croatia. There's a lot of nomads are into tech and startup stuff like that. So a tour of Rimac Bugatti, inside a unicorn at Infobip, getting into Osijek Software City. The medical tourism stuff here is incredible too. And to put all that into a calendar, into a website offering those experiences, and actually have a calendar so that people can actually come and say, okay, I'm thinking of coming to Croatia in June. What is it? Wow, I can pick lavender. And if I stay another month, then I can go to Ultra Europe Music Festival, and I can. And the way to do it was that the way we're doing it is, and you were one of these experiences, we would get a local partner. Let's say the first one we did. There's a very cool, very unknown festival on the island of Hvar in November when everything's dead, and it's called Pesca Fondo. It's a squid fishing championship. Okay, and 10 years ago. The first event I ever covered when I started writing about Croatia was Pesca Fondo the first year, because I knew the owner. He runs a famous restaurant there. And the first year there were 7 teams squid fishing, and 35 people came to his restaurant for the after party. And to be honest, I thought it was a bit shit. But I supported him. And then 10 years, it was his 10th anniversary in November, and he had 72 teams from all over Croatia, from Poland, from Italy, from Slovenia, from Bosnia, and about 1,500 people came to the whole event because they had different things tacked on. So in 9 years,
I saw the video for that was last year, right? The last
it was
event,
in November.
Right? That was crazy. Like I saw the video of all the boats just going.
So this is exactly the point of romance, right? So you've seen it. So what I said to the guy was like, I'm going to charge you some money, and you're going to trust me, because we've worked together for 10 years. And he's like, whatever you say, Paul's fine. How much is it? I'll send it. And stuff. And I'm going to send you 3 nomads from New Zealand who live in Trogir, Nick and Anna and Mahina. And you're going to give them accommodation, feed them, get them drunk, take them out, you give them the whole experience. And they're going to produce a video of that experience with an intro and outro from them. And he's like, and it's for this new platform. And I could explain it to you, but I'm not going to waste my time because you're going to give me the money anyway. And then you'll see the video. And you're like, okay. How much? No, done. So I then called Nick and I said, do you fancy a weekend squid fishing on Hvar in November? He's like, have you seen the weather forecast? And I was like, just do it. And he's like, and it's all paid for? I was like, yeah, you're going to have a great time. You're going to meet the guy. He's going to really look after you, I promise you. And just trust me on this. And he was like, okay, all right, I'll go. And so he went with his wife and his mother-in-law. And they said it was just unreal. Like the music, the food, the atmosphere, everything, right? And so they created the 90-second Pesca Fondo Cromance experience video, right? Which goes onto the platform. And so that next year people are going, oh, we've heard about squid fishing. What's it like? Okay. Well, here's the video from last year through the eyes of a nomad, and you can see, their similar mindset to you, and this is what their experience was. Man, I want to go. So I predict we'll have at least 10, 15 nomad people taking place next year. Yeah. And this is in November. This year, whatever. This is November when nothing happens, when everyone's sleeping because everything's set. Things are happening, but nobody's actually putting it all together. It's about connecting. So then we had, Tanya has this thing called Nomad Table. So in every Friday in Split, you pay 150 kun or something for a 2-course meal with a bit of entertainment. And if you're a nomad or not a nomad or want to be nomad and you want to come in and just meet like-minded people and have a nice social evening, you book a place. Yeah. And so it's sold out every week. Yeah, and people are coming and going, wow, we never knew this kind of stuff was there. So we did a Cromance experience video of that. So that goes into the calendar so people know. And what I did was I went to Nomad Table a few months ago, and I tagged the mayor of Split. And I said, this is what's happening in your city right now. And I'm very lucky that I booked, because if I didn't book, then there'd be no room for me because it would have been sold out. Shall I make a reservation for you and your wife for next Friday? And the mayor of Split said, I'd be delighted. So then I made sure Jan de Jong came and Tanya came and Michael came, and so I wasn't there, and they all had dinner And then they had the chance to have that direct conversation with the mayor, who's a very progressive guy. He's new into the job, and he really sees this whole movement. And so that's a really strong connection that we made. Yeah. So the whole thing about Nomads now is that we're basically looking to work with different destinations and different experiences to start creating this video database in this calendar, so that people know that Croatia is great for lifestyle, it's great for food and wine and everything else. But then actually, this is what you can do, and there's some really far out stuff. There's some really.
I obviously have some insights on
tell your listeners or your viewers where we took you for your Nomads experience.
Well, so I went. I think two of the most authentic ones that I've seen was the day of the date. Is it called Day of the Dead or Day of the Souls? Okay. In the cemetery, and that was like just a day or 2 days after I arrived in Zagreb. Right, so that was really interesting. And then of course we went for the abandoned airbase that is in between. Was it Bosnia and Croatia?
Bosnia and Croatia, yeah.
So that was crazy because I went to the sister airbase before in Bosnia, and then this was like way bigger, and then we were like inside looking at the thing and this is the stories of it.
This is an airbase that Tito built, which housed 80 MiG fighters inside the mountain. It was built to withstand a nuclear attack. It's got 5 runways, and it was fully operational until 1991, when the Serbs blew it up because of the war. And you can go there now, and Eva, who's our Nomads partner, she took us on an incredible tour. I mean, she knows the place inside out, and it's really mind-blowing place. And I think that video will be coming out quite soon, actually. And we've managed to get some archive footage of the MiG's landing and everything, so we'll mix that into the video.
Oh, that's nice. So I'm very excited about the project just because like some of the experience that you have mentioned, like truffle hunting and stuff, and some of those that I know you're planning that have not been released yet, are definitely experiences that as a traveler, not even just as a nomad, right? Even as a traveler in itself, when we start talking about when you travel is about people and experience versus a destination specifically, I think that is what is hard to do even by yourself. Because I'm not like a super big tour person, but I'll go to a place and I'll go for tours, this and that, right? But there are certain things that it's really difficult for you to get yourself as a solo traveler, as an individual backpacker. Right? And I think these are some of the experiences that you might not even know about as well. That's also the thing, right?
Well, but also there's a really cool extra bit to all this. So I'm working with the legendary Eva from Swanky Min Hostel, so from Swanky Travel, who's a great person, one of the best people in Croatian tourism. And we came up with the idea of forming a Nomads expat travel club. So you have all these people in Zagreb.
This I'm not going to let you say it because I'm going to talk to her, and this is going to be a topic for the
next
episode, which then the listeners have to wait for, because I've heard about that and I think that is super interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward. And then I don't know as much about
it. Starts the first thing we're doing is called Gin Credible. And we're going to a boutique gin distillery outside Zagreb, and 10 people only. Steve's coming. Are you coming, Rax? Are you missing out on another experience?
If you are sending me with the air tickets, then I will show up. See? I can't even. I'm like freaking quarantined now from like just landing here.
Life choices.
Oh well, I will check out the other experiences for sure. But I will definitely be interested to talk to Eva about this because it sounds super interesting.
Talk to her because she's the brains behind it and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Yeah. So in general, I really see like even as the media platform, you are kind of the connector between different spaces, and I think that's how strong a media platform can be, especially if you as the founder are even more active in not just reporting but actually trying to build that connection. That's really working out for like countries who wants to, start making a push and giving information out.
I think I think kind of really we've got some really nice things working now. Like TCN's is doing its. We're not the only media. I'm not saying we're not. So there's definitely other people writing, but we have a very focused sort of thing for the media. DNA, Digital Nomad Association Croatia, is really the glue, and it's a really active. I mean, they're really sort of pushing, and they can advocate for change, and they're actually now advocating to change the digital nomad visa so people can stay for longer. And so these are discussions that happen at ministerial level.
Okay.
And then you've got Tanya and Saltwater Nomads, who've got really great policy ideas, great sort of creative content, and they see the bigger picture and they see what needs to happen. And then you've got a lot of like tech cities like in Osijek and stuff like that. They want to be part of it. And then you do have some really progressive public partners, such as the Zagreb Tourist Board, such as the City of Dubrovnik Tourist Board, such as what's happening in Osijek. And so, and I'm hoping the National Tourist Board will come on board responsibly because they've obviously got budgets. We're doing this on a very small budget. Tanya tells me that Lisbon has a budget of like $10 million a year or something for what they do, and we're getting a fraction of that. But what we could do with a bit more money, given this is what we've proved we can do with almost no money, could be absolutely sensational. It's a huge opportunity.
Yep. So I'm definitely following up on the stories that's happening. But if others want to follow up on either your adventures around Croatia or about the information of the development of Croatia in this space, where should they go to?
If you're looking for the experiences, our platform is called nomads.com. And that will be there's a promo video on there at the moment, which Steve did, which is great, and so we'll go live hopefully later this month. But if you're looking to follow Digital Nomad story on Total Croatia News, we have a special section in our navbar called Digital Nomads, and that has all the latest news and features and stuff. And that's probably 4 to 6 stories every week. It can be an interview with somebody, it could be a development, it could be something else, events and so on. And I would also encourage you to follow saltwaternomads.com. That's Tanya. And she's doing a really good events, things like Nomad Table. We've got several other things in the pipeline if we can get the funding. And I would also encourage you to follow DNAcroatia.com. That's the Digital Nomad Association Croatia, which Michael is currently the director of. And that's really the glue. And they also have a website called DNAstay.com, where they're developing a good database of reputable, certified digital nomad accommodation options. I'm not sure how developed it is, but I know it's live. And I'd say those are sort of the main things really that I could say to follow.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you for coming on, Paul. It was a very insightful deep dive into some of the initiative that's going to happen and that have happened, and definitely looking forward to what's happening this year for sure.